Yah, please fill me with the Ruach HaKodesh, that I may speak your written words with boldness to those who listen. I ask all these things in Yeshua HaMashiach's name, amen. We'll start with the Shema, listen and obey. Children of Yah, pay careful attention and respond. Yehovah is our power and authority. Yehovah works in unity with himself, and you shall act upon your love to Yehovah with your power and authority, with your thoughts and minds, with your entire body, and with all the muchness that you have. Hebrews chapter 10. For the Tanakh has in it a shadow of the good things to come, but not the actual manifestation of the originals. Therefore it can never, by means of the same sacrifices repeated endlessly year after year, bring to the goal those who approach the holy place to offer them. Otherwise, wouldn't the offering of those sacrifices have ceased? For if the people performing the sacrifice had been cleansed once and for all, they would no longer have sins on their conscience. No, it is quite the contrary. In these sacrifices is a reminder of sins year after year. For it is impossible that the blood of bulls and goats should take away sins. This is why, on coming into the world, he says, "It has not been your will to have an animal sacrifice and a meal offering. Rather, you have prepared for me a body. No, you have not been pleased with burnt offerings and sin offerings." Then I said, "Look, in the scroll of the book, it is written about me. I have come to do your will." And saying, first, you neither willed nor were pleased with animal sacrifices, meal offerings, burnt offerings, and sin offerings, things which are offered in accordance with the Torah. And then, "Look, I have come to do your will." He takes away the first system in order to set up the second. It is in connection with this will that we have been separated for God and made holy, once and for all, through the offering of Yeshua the Messiah's body. Now, every Kohen stands every day doing his service, offering over and over the same sacrifices which can never take away sins. But this one, after he had offered for all time single sacrifices for sins, sat down at the right hand of God, from then on to wait until his enemies be made a footstool for his feet. For by a single offering he has brought to the goal for all time those who are being set apart for God and made holy. And the Ruach HaKodesh too bears witness to us, for after saying, "This is the covenant which I will make with them after those days, says Yehovah, and I will put my Torah on their hearts, and I will write it on their minds." He then adds, "And their sins and their wickednesses I will remember no more." Now, where there is forgiveness for these, an offering for sins is no longer needed. So, brothers, we have confidence to use the way into the holiest place opened by the blood of Yeshua. He inaugurated it for us as a new and living way through the Paraclete, by means of his flesh. We also have a great Kohen over God's household. Therefore, let us approach the holiest place with a sincere heart, in the full assurance that comes from trusting, with our hearts sprinkled clean from a bad conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us continue holding fast to the hope we acknowledge, without wavering, for the one who has made promises is trustworthy. Let us keep paying attention to one another in order to spur each other on to love and good deeds, not neglecting our own congregational meetings, as some have made a practice of doing, but rather encourage each other. Let us do this all the more as you see the day approaching. For if we deliberately continue to sin after receiving the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a sacrifice for sins, but only the terrifying prospect of judgment, of raging fire that will consume the enemies. Someone who discards the Torah of Moshe is put to death without mercy on the words of 2 or 3 witnesses. Think how much worse will the punishment deserved by someone who trampled underfoot the Son of God, who has treated as someone common the blood of the covenant, which made him holy, and who has insulted the Spirit-giver of God's grace. For the one we know was the one who said, "Vengeance is my responsibility, I will repay," and then said, "Jehovah will judge his people." It is a terrifying thing to fall into the hands of the living God. But remember the earlier days when, after you had received the light, you endured a hard struggle with suffering. Sometimes you were publicly disgraced and persecuted, while other times you stood loyally by those who was treated this way. For you shared the sufferings of those who have been put into prison. Also, when your possessions were seized, you accepted it gladly, since you knew that what you possessed was better and would last forever. So don't throw away that courage of yours, which carries with such great reward. For you need to hold out, so that by having done what God wills, you may receive what he has promised. For there is so little time. The one coming will indeed come. He will not delay. But the person who is righteous will live his life by trusting. And if he shrinks back, I will not be pleased with him. However, we are not the kind who shrink back and are destroyed. On the contrary, we keep trusting and thus preserve our lives. The author pulls a lot from the Tanakh. Again, chapter 10 builds on chapter 9, and super important. Okay, we got, "It has not been your will to have animal sacrifices and a meal offering. Rather, you have prepared for me a body. No, you have been pleased with burnt offerings and sin offerings. Then I said, look, in the scroll of the book, it is written about me. I have come to do your will." That comes from Psalm 40, 7 through 9. Psalm 40, 7 through 9. Let's turn there now. "Sacrifices and grain offerings you don't want. Burnt offerings and sin offerings you don't demand. Instead, you have given me open ears. So I said, here I am, I'm coming. In the scroll of the book it is written about me. Doing your will, my God, is my joy. Your Torah is my inmost being." Amen. Next, "You willed, pleased with animal sacrifices, meal offerings, burnt offerings, sin offerings. Look, I have come to do your will, offering. Sat down at the right hand of God until his enemies made a footstool at his feet." That comes from Psalm 110:1. I think this might be pulled the most out of the New Testament. At least 4 times so far, I think. Psalm 110:1, a psalm of David. "Jehovah said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies your footstool. This is the covenant which I made. This is the covenant which I will make with them after those days, says Jehovah. I will put my Torah on their hearts and write it in their minds." Write it on their minds. That comes from Jeremiah 31:32. Jeremiah 31:32. "For this is the covenant I make with the house of Israel after those days, says Jehovah. I will put my Torah within them and write it on their hearts. I will be their God and they will be my people. Also, in their sins and their wickedness I will remember no more." Also Jeremiah 31, verse 33. Going on, "No longer will any of them teach his fellow community member or his brother, know Jehovah. For all will know me, from the least of them to the greatest, because I will forgive their wickedness and remember their sins no more." Sprinkled clean, pure water. That comes from Ezekiel 36:25. Ezekiel 36:25. Then I will sprinkle clean water on you, and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from your uncleanness, and from your idols. Raging fire that will consume your enemies. Isaiah 26:11. Jehovah, you raised your hand, but they still didn't see. Yet with shame they will see your zeal for the people. Yes, fire will destroy your enemies. Put to death on the word of 2 or 3 witnesses. Deuteronomy 17:6. The death sentence is to be carried out only if there was testimony from 2 or 3 witnesses. He may not be sentenced to death on the testimony of only 1 witness. That's a good idea. Blood of the covenant. Exodus 24:8. When there is an outbreak of Zerot, be careful to observe and do just what the Kohanim who are Levi'im teach you. Take care to do as I ordered them. Vengeance is my responsibility. I will repay. Jehovah will judge his people. Deuteronomy 32:35. (35 and 36). 32, 35, and 30. Vengeance and payback are mine for the time when their foot slips. For the day their calamity is coming soon. Their doom is rushing upon them. Yes, Jehovah will judge his people, taking pity on his servants when he sees that their strength is gone, that no one is left slave or free. Lastly, there is so little time. The one coming will indeed come, he will not delay, but the person who is righteous will live his life by trusting, and if he shrinks back, I will not be pleased with him. Habakkuk 2, 3, and 4. Habakkuk 2, 3, and 4. Whoa. Habakkuk, where are you? Where are you, Habakkuk? Habakkuk 2, 3, and 4. Ooh, I lost it. There we go. 2, 3, and 4. This is a hard one to find. For the vision is meant for its appointed time. It speaks of the end, and it does not lie. It may take a while, but wait for it. It will surely come, it will not delay. Look at the proud. He is inwardly not upright, but the righteous will attain life through trusting faithfulness. Make sure that's right. Habakkuk 2, 3, and 4. That was right. It didn't sound the best. Oh, lastly, shrink back, trusting. Yeah. Okay. How can we learn to love our Creator after reading Hebrews 10? We can learn a lot. We can know that the Torah has in it a shadow of the good things to come, but not the actual manifestation of the originals. Therefore, it cannot bring to the goal. Trust that it is impossible for the blood of bulls and goats to take away sins. Trust that what was said in Psalm 40, verse 7 through 9, upon Messiah coming into the world. Trust that Yeshua came to take away the first system in order to set up the second. Trust that it is in connection with this will that we have been separated for God and made holy once and for all through the offering of Yeshua's body. Trust that Yeshua offered for all time a single sacrifice for sins, sits down at the right hand of Yah, waiting for his enemies to be made a footstool for his feet. Trust that Yeshua's single offering brought to the goal for all time those who are being set apart for God and made holy. Trust that the Ruach HaKodesh bears witness to us, Jeremiah 31, 32, and 33. Trust that where there is forgiveness of sin, an offering for sins is no longer needed. Trust that the blood of Yeshua opened the way into the holiest place. Trust that Yeshua inaugurated it for us as a new and living way through the Parakohit by means of his flesh. Trust that Yeshua is a great Kohen of Yah's household. Therefore, let us approach the holiest place with a sincere heart and in the full assurance that comes from trusting, sprinkling clean our hearts and washing with pure water. Hold fast to the hope we acknowledge without wavering, trusting that the one who made the promise is trustworthy. Aim to pay attention to each other, encouraging each other. Aim to obey. Aim to lift high the Son of Yah. Aim to be pleasing in the eyes of Yah. Know we will share in the sufferings of Yeshua did. Be courageous, which carries such a great reward. Aim to hold out doing God's will, and you may receive what he promised. Aim to be a person who is righteous, living your life by trusting. Keep trusting, thus preserving your life. How can we love others as Yeshua loves us? We can teach others the truth and the power of Yeshua's blood. Produce spiritual fruit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, humility, self-control. How can we bear one another's burdens? We can take the time to invest in others, leading them to Yah's trust in Yeshua. End with the Arianic blessing. Yehovah will kneel before you presenting gifts, and he will guard you with a hedge of protection. Yehovah will illuminate the wholeness of his being toward you and bring order. He will provide you with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yehovah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon you and will set in place all you need to be whole and complete. Amen.